I'm not sure if you've got a fax machine at home. Not many Americans do anymore. Neither do a lot of small businesses. So it seems a bit odd to tell small businesses they need to fax in, that is, fax in enrollment forms for Obamacare. That's just what the Obama administration is now doing. Well, I might paraphrase the president. The 80s called, and they want their health policy back. Now, to be fair, snail mail is also an option, and it looks like the president's people will try to have the issue fixed soon, despite passing the law more than 3 years ago. But then again, this is the same president who told us that Obamacare is working the way it's supposed to, President Obama said, and that those who already have health care won't see many changes under this law. The same guy who promised us his health care ideas would make American premiums lower and that they'd be able to keep the plans they liked. So forgive me for being a little bit skeptical, given how these other rosy scenarios have played out. Now, I'm not the only skeptic out there. Just ask the folks who've already gotten laid off or seen their hours cut. Ask the graduate who can't find anything but part-time work. Ask the 20-something who's going to lose her employer health plan and pay more over in the exchanges. The reality simply does not match up with the rhetoric. And that includes the president's remarks yesterday over in Maryland. He said there's no widespread evidence that Obamacare is hurting jobs. That's actually what he said, no widespread evidence. Now, we all know the president was hanging around with Bill Clinton the other day. What we didn't know was that he was getting pointers on syntax. It makes you wonder what would constitute widespread evidence of job loss in this president's mind. I mean, just yesterday, his press secretary dismissed reports of a company dropping health insurance for 55,000 employees as just, quote, an anecdote, end quote. Maybe that's how things look from the South Lawn. It looks a lot different if you just lost your health care plan that you liked and you wanted to keep. And as Senator Moynihan used to tell us, data is the plural of anecdote. Data is the plural of anecdote. There are just too many stories about the impact of Obamacare, far too many to be discussed with the wave of a hand. Ironically, the same day the president was painting more rosy scenarios in Maryland, the administration announced yet another delay in this law's implementation. That's about the time we found out about the fax machines and all that follows the revelation of yet more exchange problems, this time with an exchange here in the District of Columbia. You might be able to take any one of these many Obamacare problems in isolation and explain it away, say it doesn't matter, just call it an anecdote. But what we're getting here is a constant drip, drip, paired with the effects of seeing what's happening to our jobs and our health care and the economy. It all adds up to just one thing: a law in trouble, a law that needs to be repealed. That's the goal of every member of the Republican conference here in the Senate. We're united on the need to repeal Obamacare. We want to replace it with sensible bipartisan reforms that will actually work. And in a few minutes, each and every one of us will vote against funding Obamacare. The American people want this law repealed. Republicans want it repealed. I wouldn't be surprised if a number of our Democratic colleagues secretly want it repealed as well. The problem here is that we can't get that done unless some of our friends on the other side are prepared to step up and work with us on the issue, because there are 54 of them and 46 of us. This doesn't mean we'll give up the fight if they don't. We won't. There are a lot of other things we can do in the meantime. For instance, we can follow the administration's lead in offering an Obamacare delay for the American people. After all, the administration seems to think businesses deserve a break from Obamacare. Doesn't the middle class deserve the same treatment, the very same treatment? Republicans think so, and I think we might be able to convince enough Democrats to join us on that, to help us provide fairness to the middle class. Yesterday, one Democratic senator already signaled his willingness to delay some of the worst aspects of the law as well. He called a delay for the American people very reasonable and sensible. He posed a question, don't you think that'd be fair? The answer is, yeah, that'd be fair. That's a question for my Democratic colleagues to respond to, many of whom know how badly this law is hurting their constituents. Isn't that just the fair thing to do? Of course it is. So I'm calling on Democratic senators to put the middle class ahead of the president's pride, calling for them to help us pass a delay for everyone. We've already filed legislation that would do just that. A bipartisan majority of the House already supports it. Let's work together to actually do it. Then once we get that done, let's keep working to get rid of this law and replace it with real reforms, not with ideas from the 1980s, but with common sense, step-by-step reforms that will actually lower the cost for the American people and spare them from this terrible law. Mr. President, I yield the floor.